Hello and welcome to another M&A talk with Nick, Pili at businessesforsale.com. And today we're talking about the impact a business owner and his ownership of a business has when that business is being bought or sold.
Absolutely. I think the role of the business owner really is a critical factor for any buyer, really, as it impacts both things like business valuation and ease of transition for the new buyer. So it's really critical that buyers investigate the role of the owner in the business as they consider that as a possible acquisition. Things like, for example, basically how much does the owner work in that particular business? Is it a sort of owner operator business? Are they there full time? What's their operational dependency, relationship with suppliers, customers, owners' knowledge in the business? Are they the face of that business, from a company brand or recognition? And how replaceable is that owner? It's obviously also critical as well when purchasing a business that buyers, potential buyers, understand other key staff, other management team. Are they going to stay on post acquisition? Are they tied up to long-term contracts? And so on and so forth. So it really is critical that when you're investigating and reviewing any business for acquisition, that you look at the role of the business owner to see whether that is a very easily sort of transferable skill, or if you have to then hire somebody else to take over that role. And if you do, of course, that has impacts on what margin that will do for the business, has an impact on valuation, and so on and so forth.
So basically what you're saying, Nick, is when it comes to business owners, that the more entrenched they are in the business and the operation of the business, the more fundamentally difficult it's going to be to transfer that business to a new owner or a buyer of a business. And in fact, the less involvement and the more dispensable a business owner is, the more valuable ultimately that business is going to be to someone acquiring the business. Essentially, is what you're saying.
100%. So businesses with clear systems, trained employees, minimal reliance on the owner typically command a higher valuation. I mean, for example, a franchise restaurant with an established operating model and a general manager is more valuable because it operates independently of that owner. Businesses that rely more on an owner for daily operations or strategic decisions, really they face something called key person risk, which often results in a lower valuation. For example, a law firm where the owner handles 70% of the cases himself, they may then receive discounts on that valuation because the business revenue is tied directly to that owner's efforts. So it really is, something that's very critical to investigate of how easy that sort of transition's going to be. And my advice to anybody that obviously is looking to sell a business is to make sure that, all the pre-due diligence that we've discussed in previous podcasts here on businessesforsale.com, that, you look at getting systems in place, you have the processes documented, to make sure that that business can run efficiently and profitably, without you being there 100% of the time.
So for business owners, right, who are looking to sell their business, part of their mindset quite early on in the process of selling or divesting, transferring a business, is how do I get myself out of the operation of the business to make it more attractive to a buyer? Now, I mean, when you talk to everyone in the industry, the buying, the mergers and acquisitions industry, they often say that you need to be planning as a business owner 3 to 5 years in advance of the actual exit, because part of that process is everything you've described, which is getting yourself out of the nitty gritty day-to-day running of the business.
Exactly. And a lot of the businesses that we see as well, where the owner operator is involved, it's basically a job for them, right? They're running the business, day in, day out on a full-time basis. So, you know, I think a new buyer that comes in has to decide, do they want to work full-time in that business as well, or do they want to then pay a general manager to come in to replace that current owner's role and skill sets? But of course, that then eats into EBITDA and SDE margin. So, what's left over? And I think these are obviously critical decisions that buyers always need to investigate thoroughly, of what it's like. And often that we see, buyers or new buyers come in and spend time training with a particular seller, either pre-acquisition or even post-acquisition, in order to transfer those skill sets across, just to make sure that there's no disruption to the business and no disruption, obviously, to the margins and obviously continuity of the business.
But that expenditure is could be the difference. Whilst yes, hiring a kind of COO or general manager to run the business, to basically make yourself redundant as a business owner, that could be the key difference between successfully selling the business or not. Correct?
Correct. 100%. Yeah, for sure.
And in our experience, most businesses that kind of fall at the finishing line, a lot of businesses fall at the finishing line, is because of the realization that the business owner is totally integral to the running of that business. Now, the challenge is business owners have to, at some level, make themselves redundant, and that is an egoistic challenge, I imagine, for a lot of business owners, like taking themselves out of the business, having been the energy, the originator of the idea, the day-to-day running of it, to suddenly have the strength of character to take themselves out and reduce their role. I've often, when I've discussed this with other people, especially advisors and consultants and business brokers, they say that is one of the emotional hurdles that they have to deal with.
Yes, and 100%. And of course, not every business has that challenge. Some businesses are very transparent up front. Husband and wife team may be managing a coffee shop or something, to that sort of nature. Or you have more sophisticated, businesses that require certain skill sets, such as, programming or software development, where the owner is, themselves the main developer, the main software engineer for that particular business. So then you really do have an app person sort of risk where you're looking for somebody to either replace that owner and those skill sets. So I think you have to obviously investigate. It really depends on what type of business you're looking at, where it is, what experience is needed, so on and so forth.
And obviously, part of the sale process might be that the owner stays on for a period of time as part of a handover to the new owner as well. I mean, that's often a common
Yes.
contractual term, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Typically, sellers do stay on, either paid or otherwise, to help with that sort of transition, for sure. Yes,
Nick, once again, thank you so much for the M&A insights that you manage day to day at businessesforsale.com and the Merger Vault. Um, I hope you have a wonderful holiday season, Christmas period in America. You've just had Thanksgiving, haven't you?
absolutely. Yeah, it's been great. Thank you.
What's it like being a
We're all
Brit
very
having Thanksgiving? That must be an odd one, right? I mean, that's a new idea
it.
for you, a Brit doing
I love it.
Thanksgiving.
It's like Christmas Day without the pressure.
Christmas Day without the pressure. All right, Nick. Thanks again, and we will talk again soon. Take care, Nick. Bye.
Thanks, Marcus. Bye.